From a defective remote that could literally explode in your hand to minifigures that look like they're straight out of a horror movie. These are some mistakes made by employees that cost LEGO millions. This video is sponsored by Surfshark. More on them later though. Picture this. You're LEGO, one of the biggest toy companies in the world, and you think you've got everything under control. But then, boom. One tiny human error sets you back $1.6 million. Yeah, you heard that right. In 2015, someone at LEGO's Billund factory mislabeled a color tube. Instead of the sleek dark gray pieces, light gray pieces were packed in its place. What followed was a literal nightmare. LEGO had to recall a total of 129,000 sets before they even hit the shelves. And get this, they had to bring in employees from the Czech Republic and Hungary who were literally on vacation just to fix the mess. Talk about ruining someone's holiday. In the end, LEGO spent $1.6 million cleaning up this mess. They even invested in better factory lighting and pre-printed labels so this never happens again. Luckily for them, the company pulled in a whopping $3.5 billion in revenue that year. So $1 million hiccup, barely a scratch. After this, I guess the employee who made the mistake ended up in the safe zone. This mistake was pretty bad, but what happens when something like this happens with a Technic set instead of a piece? Well, if there's one thing you expect from LEGO Technic, it's mind-blowing engineering. However, even LEGO can mess up the mechanics from time to time. Case in point, the Porsche 911 GT3 RS set. This beauty was supposed to showcase LEGO Technic's ability to replicate real-life engineering in LEGO form. But there was just one problem. They totally messed up the gearbox. When people got their hands on this set, they quickly noticed that the gear sequence was, let's say, less than accurate. Instead of the smooth transition you'd expect from a high-performance car, the gearbox was out of order, causing a complete misfire in how the gears shifted. Imagine buying a $300 LEGO set and spending hours building it, only to realize the gears don't even work like a real Porsche. Yikes. LEGO eventually acknowledged the mistake, but didn't offer official fixes. Regardless, the set is still super popular, even with this massive design flaw. But this next mistake is one that couldn't be ignored. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this video, be sure to subscribe. I post LEGO videos just like this one every week. When you think about LEGO, fire hazard probably isn't the first thing that comes to mind. But that's exactly what happened with the LEGO Power Functions IR Speed Remote Control. This little gadget was designed to give builders full control over their LEGO Technic sets, letting you ramp up the speed and feel like a true LEGO mechanic. Unfortunately, things got a little too heated. Literally. Shortly after its release, reports started coming in that the remote was overheating. Like, seriously overheating. Users were experiencing everything, from melting plastic to the whole thing getting so hot that you couldn't even hold it. It was a nightmare, so LEGO had no choice but to recall the product. What was meant to be a fun addition to the Power Functions line quickly became a safety concern, and LEGO had to act very fast. The company pulled the remotes from the shelves, reimbursed customers, and went back to the drawing board to avoid any future barbecues. But this wasn't the only time LEGO had to pull a product from the shelves, and this next one was actually a LEGO truck. You'd think a truck is only as good as its wheels, right? Well, not if you're talking about the LEGO Explorer Super Truck, which had a major problem with its wheels. Like, they just kept falling off. Imagine giving a kid this awesome looking truck only to have the wheels separate from the axles and roll away on their own. Not exactly the kind of playtime experience LEGO was going for. The issue was so bad that LEGO issued a full recall on the Super Truck set in 2002 and 2003. The problem? Those detached wheels posed a choking hazard for small kids, and the axles that the wheels sat on were super pointy when the wheels weren't covering them. So not only could kids choke on the wheels, but they could even accidentally stab themselves with the axles. This recall, though, was absolutely massive. The set was sold all over North America through big-name retailers like Toys R Us and Walmart. LEGO quickly pulled the product from the shelves and issued refunds to anyone affected. Safety is obviously a big deal for LEGO, but this was a pretty embarrassing bump in the road for the Explorer line. All this talk of LEGO mistakes reminded me of something. If you're browsing the internet without a VPN, then you're making a huge mistake. Let me tell you about Surfshark, the sponsor of today's video. Surfshark is a super user-friendly VPN and is the best way to make sure your information is secured online. You may have heard how people use VPNs to watch Netflix in other countries. And while Surfshark does let you do this, there's way more to it than that. Surfshark makes sure that your online identity is 100% safe by encrypting all of the information sent between your device and the internet. With this, you'll be protected from corporations potentially storing your data, and you'll also be protected from cyber attacks as well. Surfshark has over 3,200 servers in 100 different countries across the world. So no matter where you are, online, you can be somewhere else. It doesn't end there though. Surfshark's clean web feature allows you to block ads, trackers, malware, and phishing attempts, allowing you to browse online without any worries. The best part about all of this though is that Surfshark doesn't store what you do online, allowing you to be completely anonymous. If you sign up now with the link in the description, you'll get 4 months for absolutely free. So click the link down below or go to surfshark.com/minifigured to start protecting yourself online today. And thanks again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. On a happier note though, let's talk about one of LEGO's more common but super annoying mistakes. A certain type of misprint called a shift print. You've probably seen one of these before, where the print on a minifigure isn't exactly where it's supposed to be, leaving you with a pretty wonky looking minifig. The most infamous examples? Minifigure heads where the eyes, mouth, or helmet details are totally out of place. It's like LEGO's printers decided to take the day off. This usually happens during the manufacturing process, when the minifigure's head isn't perfectly aligned on the torso when it's time to print. What should be a flawless face or helmet design ends up looking like something out of a LEGO horror movie. Like, look at this clone trooper minifig. The blue helmet is way off to the right, but then look at this TIE fighter pilot. The print for this guy isn't even remotely close. Now, if you ever opened up a LEGO set and got something like this, I bet you'd be a little mad at first, but let me tell you why you shouldn't be. These misprints have actually turned into collector's items. One of these botched clone troopers sold for around $125, and 2 different Imperial TIE fighter pilots went for a jaw-dropping $220 and $250. So while these errors might seem like a stroke of bad luck, you might actually be able to make some good money off of it, but that definitely isn't the case for this next mistake. When LEGO fans heard about the upcoming WallE set from LEGO Ideas, they went crazy. Who wouldn't want to build their very own adorable trash compacting robot? But there was one small problem that nearly derailed the entire release. WallE's head just wouldn't stop wobbling. Right before the set hit the shelves, LEGO had to slam the brakes because of a design flaw in WallE's neck. Instead of sitting firmly in place, his head bobbled around like he was dancing to some imaginary music. For a set designed as a display piece, that wasn't going to work. LEGO's designers were forced to go back to the drawing board and fix the wobbly head issue, delaying the release for a few crucial weeks. Fans were left waiting, and the anticipation only grew stronger. To LEGO's credit, they didn't rush the fix. When WallE finally hit the market, his head was nice and secure, and fans were able to enjoy the build without worrying about their little robot having a mind of his own. While the delay wasn't catastrophic, it certainly put a damper on the initial excitement. But just when you thought you were done hearing about wobbly LEGO sets, here's another one. But this time is a superhero. When LEGO dropped the AntMan Final Battle set in 2015, fans were eager to build their own showdown with Scott Lang and a giant ant. But there was a pretty big problem. The giant ant wasn't exactly battle ready. The set came with major stability and mobility issues, with the ant barely being able to stand up without tipping over. And since the set was fully designed around this ant, it was definitely a big problem. In the UK, the set's release was delayed for about 2 weeks because of this production issue. The ant's legs were so loose that even the slightest amount of pressure would squash the poor thing. LEGO had to scramble to fix this disaster, so they added a couple of new pieces. A Technic axle with 2 grooves and a 1x1 nose cone. These were added to each leg for extra stability. And guess what? The fix worked. The updated sets could finally stand tall without collapsing. But here's the kicker. LEGO didn't change the box or make it known that the set had been modified at all. The only way you could tell was by the updated instructions tucked inside. Talk about low-key damage control. Meanwhile, over in the US, fans had already been building their squishy ants since the set launched on June 1st, with no idea that this fix was on the way. I have to say, LEGO, if you're gonna fix mistakes, you should at least let the people know. Now, let's talk about one of the weirdest and most extreme LEGO misprints you can come across. The 180-degree print. This is when LEGO decides to flip the script, like literally, and print on the wrong side of a minifigure. An example we have here is this Chewbacca minifigure from the Yavin 4 Rebel base set, where instead of his face being printed on the front, it's on his back. This little mishap turns one of the galaxy's most iconic characters into something straight out of a LEGO fever dream. And collectors, well, they're absolutely eating it up. One of these misprinted Chewies sold for around $200, proving that even the weirdest LEGO errors can turn into gold. But it doesn't stop there. An AT-AT driver minifigure also had its print reversed and sold for around $150. While these reverse print misfits are technically mistakes, they've become rare, sought-after collectibles that bring in some serious cash. This is one of the only LEGO mistakes that can lead to something good though, so let's get back to the mistakes that just can't be overlooked. This is the LEGO White House set, a building with a high reputation. But turns out, even LEGO's most refined builds aren't immune to major mistakes. In this case, it wasn't the bricks that caused problems, but it was the instruction manual manual itself. Yup, LEGO's own manual had a pretty significant error, confusing builders mid-build and forcing them to improvise. The mistake completely threw off the building process, which obviously frustrated a lot of people who just wanted to build the set. The instructions were so messed up that it even told people to endlessly stack 1x1 plates. Like, how does something like this even happen? LEGO eventually corrected the instructions, but not before a lot of builders had to fend for themselves and get creative to finish building the set. It's not exactly what you would expect from a premium LEGO product, and for a set centered around the White House, you'd hope for more careful planning. In the end, LEGO did manage to fix the instructions and send out corrections, but the damage was done. If you were one of the early buyers, you had to navigate this architectural masterpiece with a serious design flaw in its blueprint. And I hate to say it, but this isn't the only icon LEGO messed up. When LEGO released the Steamboat Willie set, fans were hyped to get their hands on a tribute to one of the most iconic Disney characters of all time. But in their rush to launch the set, LEGO made a pretty glaring mistake, one that fans immediately noticed. The side of the boat, which was meant to show the set's sequential number as number 25, was instead printed as number 24. It may seem like a minor typo, but for the collectors, this kind of thing is a really big deal. The packaging error the set's intended numbering, which caused some confusion and left fans scratching their heads. LEGO acknowledged the issue and promised to correct it in future versions of the set, but the set was already in stores. Early buyers were left with this glaring reminder that sometimes even LEGO gets a little too excited and skips a few crucial steps. Though the printing error didn't affect the actual build, it became a talking point among fans. And let's be real, if you're shelling out money for collector's items, you'd expect the packaging to be just as flawless as the build itself. LEGO fixed the mistake eventually, and maybe also fired the guy who did that, but the early copies with number 24 are still out there somewhere. When it comes to misprints though, nothing stands out quite like the combined prints on minifigures. These are way cooler than just regular misprints. In fact, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. It started when an employee somehow messed up and made the first combined print. However, some collectors out there thought, this is cool. It would sell for a lot of money. And just like that, combined prints became one of the most expensive misprints in LEGO history. This LEGO Clone Arc Trooper is an example of just how bizarre this combination can get. This trooper ended up getting the black printing of a dress meant for a female LEGO City minifigure. Instead of a sleek soldier in armor, you've got a clone trooper who looks like he's ready for a night out on the town. What makes these combined prints so fascinating and expensive is their sheer rarity. Collectors flock to these misprints, eager to snag something so uncommon and cool looking. So if you ever find a minifigure with one of these combined prints, odds are you can throw it up on eBay and make a couple $100. But when it comes to minifigures, there is one more mistake that's even less common than combined prints. LEGO Star Wars sets are home to some of the most sought after minifigures in the galaxy, and one of the rarest is a unique misprint of Princess Leia that came with the 2010 Tantive IV set. In its first production run, something bizarre happened. Leia's hair mold came out completely smooth. That's right, no ripples or detailing in her hair, just a perfectly smooth, sleek style that was never intended for the final product. Now again, this was a mistake, and it was not supposed to come out that way. But LEGO fans love something out of the ordinary. This smooth-haired Leia became an instant hit among collectors. While most fans were scrambling to build their Tantive IV set, a select few unknowingly acquired one of the rarest misprints in LEGO Star Wars history. And the appeal only grew over time, with collectors hunting down these copies of Leia, turning her into a prized piece of LEGO memorabilia. Interestingly, this mistake wasn't exclusive to the Tantive IV set. It's popped up in a few other Leia minifigures as well. However, it's the first production run on the Tantive IV set that remains the most well-known and sought after. Today, if you're lucky enough to own a smooth-haired Leia, you're holding onto a minifigure that's as rare as they come in the Star Wars LEGO universe. What was the worst mistake made by LEGO in this video? And make sure you check out my Surfshark link in the description. Thank you. Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.